Hi everyone, I'm Kim and this is Jordan, and Jordan has been doing the Nutcracker for several years, and because of that we've been teaching people for years and years how to do a traditional rag curl to get those beautiful loose ringlets that were so popular during the Victorian days. And I was finally asked to just make a video on how to do it so that I don't have to keep teaching people, so here it is. Here's the video. Now before we start, I do want to tell you that there's some different techniques when it comes to rag curls. And especially during the pioneer days, I think there was another technique that became popular. And I've seen some videos online about doing this rag curl technique where you're actually rolling up this way. You don't want to do that for the Nutcracker, because in the Nutcracker what you're looking for are those beautiful, very sleek ringlets coming down. And so I'm going to teach you how to do this, and I was actually taught by my grandmother because this is the way her hair was done with rag curls. So here we go. Jordan's got very long hair, so you may want to make some adjustments depending on the length of your child's hair. But I always start by just spritzing it down with a little bit of water so that we're starting with damp hair. Now Jordan has very, very thick, very long hair, but I'm only going to do 5 curls on her whole head. One, because we want a big curl. We don't want tight little bitty curls. But also because, and you'll see this later on, when you take the curl out, you can actually divide each curl into 2 curls. So if I do 5, she really will end up having 10 uniform curls around her head. Now, after I spritz her hair with a little bit of water, I put a little bit of styling cream or mousse. Today I'm using this Suave Captivating Curls. It's kind of a thick mousse. TG also makes a product in a little short purple bottle, and I don't really remember what it's called. I think it might be called Foxy Curls. That works very well as well. But I'm just going to put something in her hair like this mousse, and don't worry about it being globby because that's okay. That'll really help keep the curl smooth and not frizz up, because of course the girls are going to sleep in these overnight. Okay, so I'm going to start and do our first curl here, and you can kind of watch from this angle, and then we'll come in and show you close up. So I'm going to do her first curl, and as you can see, I'm taking a pretty big chunk of hair here, of course, because I'm only doing 5 curls. And I'm going to comb it out and get it real smooth. Now this is the most important part. You're going to need rags. Now what we use is just a cut up old sheet. The most important thing is the width of your sheet. You don't want it to be too narrow because you'll end up with too tight of a curl and you'll end up with little kinky frizzy curls, and that's not what you want. You also want the length of your rag to be twice as long as the girl's hair. So because Jordan's hair is pretty long, our sheet is obviously very long. So what I'm going to do is grab a couple of inches at the top, and I'm going to lay it across the top of her head, and she's going to hold it for me. Okay, Jordan, if you want to hold it there. Now what I'm going to do is lay the rag on the back side of my curl, and I'm going to kind of smooth out this hair with both of my fingers, and I'm going to very loosely start wrapping the hair in a loose, smooth curl around the rag. Now you'll notice I'm not pulling it real tight when I'm doing that, because that'll end up with little bitty pencil curls, and that's just too tight. We want it to be pretty loose. So I'm wrapping it with my 2 fingers, keeping the hair very smooth all the way around the rag. And it really doesn't matter how much space is between these. And then I'm going to keep my rag going at the end in the direction of my hair so that I can wrap that end and keep it smooth. And you'll see this up close in a minute. But I'm going to wrap the end to keep it tight in there. Once I've got a hold of that end, I'm going to wrap my rag back up around my curl. This is what keeps your curls from getting frizzy, because they're protected as your daughter sleeps. If you used to sleep in those little pink rollers like I used to when you were little, you remember those frizzy curls that you end up with. So this keeps the curl covered and protected. Now when I get all the way to the top, I'm going to take my loose end and I'm going to tie it right here. You can tie it once or twice. I just tie it once and leave it loose like this. And so you're going to have these. They're not uncomfortable to sleep in. And then I'm going to move to my next curl. Now if you want to move in tighter for this one so that you can see what we're doing, So I'm going to comb out the hair to make sure it's nice and smooth, and I'm going to get my rag, and again I'm going to get a piece of it and I'm going to lay it on top of her head, and Jordan's going to hold on to it. I'm going to move this hair out of the way. Okay, then I'm going to just start smoothing my hair in the direction that I want my curl to go in, and I'm going to just slowly start wrapping it around my rag. Now remember what I said, I'm not taking it real tight like this because I'm going to have a tiny curl and I want a loose, pretty Victorian banana curl. I'm just going to wrap it loose with 2 fingers all the way around. Now this is the most important part. When you get to the end, you don't want your ends to be bent. So as the end comes around, because it's going in this direction, now I'm going to want my rag to continue in the same direction. And if you can see that little hair sticking up there, I want that to be covered and forced into the same direction. So I'm going to take my rag and wrap it around there to grab it. Now I'm just going to continue wrapping my rag up around the hair to keep it smooth and keep it protected until I get all the way to the top, and then I'm just going to tie a loose knot. I will continue to do this around her head until I have 5 rags hanging around her head, and then she will sleep in them. Okay, so here we are the next morning, and Jordan has slept in her rag curls all night long, so I'm going to take them out and show you what your result is. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention yesterday is the reason that the rag curls work so good, especially for the Nutcracker, but even for other events and things, is, for example, Jordan's hair does not hold curl very well. So if I were to curl it with a curling iron, yes, I would get a good curl, but by the time we're walking out the door, it's already falling loose. The amazing thing about these rag curls, as you'll see, is they're good curls and they stay for days. So especially if you're going to be doing 2 shows in one day, you're not going to have to recurl your daughter's hair. And I've heard a lot of moms complain about their daughter's hair getting damaged because they're having to use a curling iron multiple times a day with hairspray and all of that. You're not going to have that with rag curls. You're going to do it once and it's going to stay for the whole day. In fact, it'll stay for several days. My grandmother, the one that taught me this, told me that in the 30s when she was a child that they would get bathed on Saturdays and she would get her rag curls put in for the week. So she would sleep in them on Saturday night so that her curls would be fresh for church on Sunday, and then that was her hair stayed curled for the rest of the week. So you can see this here as I'm taking them out, how good the curls look, but I'm going to split them apart in a second. I'm going to get the rest of these out, and I'll show you how you can divide the curls if you want to have more than just the 4 or 5 curls that you put in. So I'm just untying them and then just gently unwinding them out of the hair. And don't worry if some of them start to slip a little bit as they sleep, because really the Victorian curls are down anyway. So Jordan, if you'll just turn for a second just so we can see that. Okay, now I'm going to do her hair. I'm going to split each curl into 2, just very gently, like this. See how that's falling really pretty. And now to do the pullback style that's required for the Nutcracker, or just, I mean, she could go out right now like that and her hair looks beautiful. But especially for our Nutcracker at Texas Ballet Theater, the girls have to have their hair pulled back on the sides. So I just gently pull the sides back, and I use a rubber band, but if your hair's thinner, you could probably use a barrette or something. And you can put the rubber band in. Okay, Jordan, now turn and you'll see that you get the look that you're looking for. And this actually will stay for days. You can put a little bit of hairspray in it, and the curls will get a little bit looser and just hang beautifully. So good luck and happy nutcrackering.